Hello. On behalf of TV Tacoma and the League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County, welcome to this forum for candidates running for Tacoma City Council District 4. I'm Liz Kernitz-Thurlow, and I will be moderating. Tacoma has 5 council districts, which are each represented by a council member, and residents of those districts vote for them. The people who live in District 4 get to vote in this election. We also have 3 at-large council seats, one of which is up for election this year, and a mayor who are elected by all Tacoma voters. The candidates for District 4 are Catherine Ushka and Israel James McKinney. Israel James McKinney did not respond to our invitation, so we will only be questioning Catherine Ushka. Candidates have been asked to agree to our ground rules, which state, among other things, that they will not comment on their opponents. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Thank you. The general election is Tuesday, November 2nd. If you're not yet a registered voter, you may register at the auditor's office through Election Day. Candidates were told they have up to 2 minutes for opening statements, various times for questions, and 1 minute for closing statements. Our timekeeper is Susan Eidenschink of the League of Women Voters, who will show cards to keep track of the time. As only one candidate is present, we can be a little lax. If you wish to talk a little longer on a subject, you may. So, Catherine Ushka, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here today. Again, my name is Catherine Ushka, and I've been proud to represent the 4th District for the last almost 4 years, the mighty east side and south end of Tacoma. Right now, we're facing unprecedented health, human services, economic, and social challenges. I'm running for re-election because I have the unmatched policy experience to see us through these complex issues. I daily prioritize calls and emails from my constituents, and I've streamlined systems and response time and code enforcement in 311. On the Tacoma-Pierce County Board of Health, I championed a resolution declaring racism a public health crisis and directing agency-level anti-racist transformation, similar to what we unanimously passed at the Tacoma City Council, while also leading a successful grassroots operation to keep our health department as we know it operating last winter. I will continue to prioritize public health in all the ways that it touches our diverse communities. I've done and I will continue to work related to affordable housing and our unsheltered neighbors. I co-sponsored the affordable housing tax. The city has significantly increased shelter beds. And I also serve on the National League of Cities Eviction Prevention Lab so that we can figure out how to keep people housed in the first place. Well, there's a great deal of work ahead. I believe that we can get there together. When the city offered loans for small businesses suffering from COVID-19 closures, I went out and hand-delivered multilingual flyers to diverse businesses in the district that I didn't think would be on the city email list to make sure that they too had access to resources. We have to be innovative, not just so that our businesses can survive, but so that they can thrive. In the face of social justice challenges, we've begun significant work to transform public safety and policing, and I'll continue to see this work through until every Tacoman feels safe, no matter their zip code, no matter their cash flow, no matter their faith, and no matter their race. As we move forward, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be better than before. I'm running to see that opportunity through with you. And again, I look forward to the discussion ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we come to questions. And 60 seconds for the first one. And the first question is, what is the most pressing need in Tacoma, and how do you plan to attack or address it? And I'm going to warn you that question 2 is about the most pressing need in District 4. So start with the whole city, please.
I think it's twofold. I think it's about housing. And when I talk about housing, it's a continuum that goes from our unsheltered neighbors to the lack of housing that we have available on the market altogether. There's many things that I've done work on this already that I'd like to continue to do. That includes working to increase shelter beds by over 300 in the past year, making sure that we pass the affordable housing tax so that we have further access, prioritizing multifamily tax exemptions so that we can also get market rate housing throughout the city, and really working to create partnerships with all of these organizations so that we can come to a place where everybody in Tacoma has a place that they can call home and be safe in. So in the city, I think that it's housing and people experiencing homelessness, and I think that goes hand in hand with public safety. And I think that as we go through this, maybe I'll answer that as District 4, because I think they do go hand in hand, not because people that are experiencing homelessness increase public safety risks, but because there are people that victimize people that are in need.
Thank you. Okay, most pressing need in District 4.
I really think it's about public safety, and that those public safety concerns take all sorts of different they look different ways. It's about crime. It's about graffiti. It's about blight. It's about making sure that we look and it looks safe and feels safe, as well as adequate policing. When we look at policing and the social justice issues that we've faced over the last year, we know that not everybody feels safe with increased police visibility. So we need to find ways to work beside people and understand what it means to create public safety differently. This recreation of public safety is a transformation that's taking place nationwide. We're not alone in Tacoma, but you need to know that when something happens and you call 911, somebody's going to show up and they're going to make sure that your family is safe, regardless of what zip code that you live in. These increasing rates have been true throughout cities in our whole country. And I know that we have the ability to work together to see this through and to lead the nation in solutions.
Thank you. The climate crisis. How can and should Tacoma help combat climate change? What will you do? How? And if you can, include how we should be working with the Port of Tacoma on this. And you can take up to 90 seconds, I guess.
Thank you. Climate change in 90 seconds. Let's see what I can do.
Right.
In Tacoma, it's everything from things like in the east side and south end, we've got the lowest tree canopy in all of this of South Puget Sound. I have done things like partnering with neighbors, our legislature, and WSDOT to make sure that trees removed during WSDOT construction are not only replaced, but increased up to 250 to 300 trees. It's things like working with the Green Schools Initiative and the Partnership for Public Lands to make sure that we have access to green space throughout our communities so that we're out using it. In the Port of Tacoma, it's about making sure that we have a plan towards green manufacturing and that we're implementing that plan by utilizing our partnerships on every level: federal, local, business, not-for-profit, and our environmental partners.
Thank you. As you have mentioned, and we've all mentioned, homelessness continues to be a huge issue. How will you help Tacoma build more housing, find housing solutions for homeless people, get all people, students, elderly, mentally ill, differently abled, they're just plain out of luck, the health services and protection they need? Need a couple minutes for that, maybe?
If I can take a couple minutes, I can take a couple minutes. The issues facing our unsheltered neighbors are vast, and the solutions are also vast. There's not a one size fit all. There's an individual as you and I. I did mention that the city has increased shelter beds in a variety of different capacities by about 300 over the last year. And that includes safe parking, that includes tiny homes, and that includes standard traditional shelter beds. There is a partnership that we're working on along with Pierce County and Lakewood, which by the way is unprecedented, as well as Lehigh, to purchase a hotel for shelter for people that are currently unsheltered that would turn into long-term transitional housing in the future. We need permanent supportive housing for people that are on limited incomes. And we need to make sure that we're working with our legislative partners to make sure that those limited incomes get increased when they haven't been revisited since about 1970. I'm working with industry partners and with our economic development department because we also need to make sure that we increase market rate housing throughout our district. So that also leads into Home in Tacoma and how do we make sure that there's opportunities for greater density within Tacoma. In our multi-use centers, I want to see height requirements so that we don't end up with 2-story buildings where there could be 3 or 4, because once we do that, we'll lose that opportunity for density forever. It's about making sure that everybody has a safe place to live, making sure that affordability exists not just now or in 9 years or in 12 years, but forever, because we're always going to have people that need affordability. And when we increase that density, we also help the environment because we make sure that people can work, live, and thrive in a community using pedestrian activities, for instance, and not building sprawl or high rises all the way up to the mountain. We live here because it's the most beautiful place in the world. So figuring out ways to make sure that it's accessible and affordable, no matter what your income level, and again, your faith, your race, or your cash flow is relevant to the long-term health of our community. And that's what I'm committed to.
Thank you. Tacoma recently cleaned out a homeless camp on Yakima Avenue. Should we do that when there aren't places or services for everyone there to go? What is the right answer to this complicated question?
Well, Tacoma doesn't actually remove people unless we do have enough beds for everybody that's there. The challenge is not everybody is going to take us up on those opportunities. In real life, we can't move them unless we have a bed to offer them. And that's the way the Boise decision is being interpreted and the way that we've been implementing it. And trying to make sure that we have those beds available is the work that we've been doing. Now, I talked about it not being a one-size-all approach. People might not want to live in a tiny home. They might want other opportunities, and they have a right to want those. We can't just overpower somebody's free will and remove them from where they are. And just so that you know, when we've done that in cases of higher criminal activity or danger to the community, or when the city has, there's a place for their things and there's a place that they're offered to go as well. But long term, we need to look at not just how we're going to continue those solutions, but Liz, in the end, if it's my daughter or your father or anything else that's on a street corner in the winter, we want somebody to intervene and make them safe. So those are the challenges that we still have to overcome. And it's challenging because of the legal issues that we face in the midst of it as well.
Thank you. Racism. This connects to housing, policing, jobs, and everyday life. How do you think we're doing in dealing with it? And what do you propose to help improve and equalize conditions for all? 90 seconds.
90 seconds. I appreciate that. It's a big issue. I think I'm proud that Tacoma is facing it head on. You know, we passed an anti-racism resolution, and we actually have a group of citizens appointed to help us define what that is and what the mission is forward. Racism shows itself in every single area, like you said, whether it's home ownership, it's people experiencing homelessness, everything that you can imagine, there's disparity, and it directly relates to racism or historical redlining or something else. It's not about everybody being racist. It's about systemic racism that's inherent in our society. So having those difficult conversations and coming to understand how we as individuals and we as a city can make those changes is relevant. Things like looking at a community safety office and looking at using something other than police for divertible calls of service are relevant points along this journey. We're leading the way in this, and so doing it together and making sure that if we stumble along the way, we get back up and keep working together is going to be relevant. But I do think that we're making progress, partly because we're not afraid to name it. And I look forward to working with community ahead. I expect it to be hard work, but everybody in Tacoma is worth it. And in my opinion, we should always be leaders.
Thank you. This will be the last question. Home in Tacoma. Do you support this? What good things can it do? What changes do you think might be needed?
Home in Tacoma, that's a good one. The Planning Commission did some phenomenal work coming through with this, and they were asked to do an impossible task in a very short time. And what they brought forward are items that needs a little bit more work to see how it works neighborhood by neighborhood. Do we need to? So I support Home in Tacoma with some changes, right? Low density housing, absolutely. I think that we need to identify key corridors for further density and then have queues in so that when we reach that density, then it will automatically increase to other areas. Ultimately, zoning, Home in Tacoma is about zoning. I've looked at the McKinley Center, for instance, for the last 20 years, where zoning allows for all sorts of development, but it's never come. So along with Home in Tacoma, we have to incentivize development, where we want that development to be that also offers services to the communities surrounding it, like grocery stores. So that's the kind of work that I'm doing. And it does take some creative policy work and to bring different departments together. I'm trying to get us to look at it differently because the way we've done it before hasn't worked.
Thank you. Now it's time for closing statements. You have about a minute.
Thank you. With nearly 4 years on council and 8 years on Tacoma School Board, I have broad policy experience. I'm seeking re-election so we can recover from the dual pandemics of COVID-19 and racism. These are hard times to serve, and frankly, they're hard times for everybody. But I believe in the people of Tacoma, and I particularly believe in those of District 4, the mighty East Side and South End. I've earned the endorsements of business and labor, environmental leaders, the support from our leaders from Congress, the legislature, the mayor, and all of my colleagues. But none of those are as important as the support of my neighbors in District 4, the businesses and friends that I know, the constituents whose doors I knock, the emails I answer every day. I know that we can fully recover better than we were before. And I ask for your support so I can continue this hard work with you and for you. I'd love to have your vote on November 4th or whenever you get your ballot in, hopefully before then. And again, I want to offer my gratitude to the League of Women Voters and TV Tacoma for offering this opportunity today.
Thank you. Catherine Ushka, thank you for participating, answering our questions, and caring about our city. The candidates for Tacoma City Council, District 4, are Israel James McKinney, who was not here, and Catherine Ushka. If you want to watch this again, or watch the other forums, or recommend it, check TV Tacoma's website or TacomaPierceLWV.org. Election day is November 2nd, not November 4th. Get your ballot in a drop box or postmark by 8 p.m. on that day. Earlier is better. Thank you for watching. Now please vote.